Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our yearly July 4th Retro Gaming American Patriot Extravaganza, where I pick one game that screams America and run with it for the holiday. Because outside my window the sky is red, white, and blue, and we're talking about the USA today. And just so you know, I do not script any of these videos, and the July 4th video is just me having fun, so be very well aware of that. But what could be more patriotic than going across state lines, buying cheap fireworks, and blowing your hand off with them later on in the evening, or crippling student loan debt? That would be the Expendabros, which is a crossover between Broforce and the Expendables movie franchise. If you know one thing, America loves its crossovers these days, and Broforce is an absolutely hilarious, tons of fun run-and-gun game a la Metal Slug with a little Meat Boy aesthetic in there that wears its 1980s Americanism and Reaganism on its sleeve in the most fun ways possible. And you are going to be running through this game, committing absolute carnage like a Florida man on bath salts. I did explode myself right there, and that's your reminder again. Fireworks are dangerous. Do not do that this evening, because every single year the news is just littered in Chicago with people that now have stumps for hands. It's one of those things. They do go boom. Stay very far away from them when the booming starts. And I love how a level ends as well. You're going to get the area liberated scene, and you're going to see all of the different enemies you killed, and if you exploded them, they will also explode in the tally. It's basically just a body count with actual carnage. But this game is just hilarious, and the best part is it's an absolute metric crap ton of fun. But I guess this is an episode for July 4th, so it's an absolute 16-ounce crap ton of fun, because we don't have the metric system here. We aren't that smart. And again, I just love games like this, and you can play with up to 4 players. This is just one of those experiences. As a crossover, as a free game, it is absolutely incredible, and it is free. And what does America love more than freebies? Free video games. And it wears that pixel art aesthetic so well, and I love this robot here. Kind of feels like something out of Metal Slug with a little bit of Fallout New Vegas mixed in as well, with some of the helper bots and that evil face on the screen. And it's just one of those games. I'm not sure why they even thought this would be a good idea, a free game crossover with the Expendables movie franchise, but you end up winning because you get to play it, and it just feels so good. And again, the fact that this game even exists in and of itself is hilarious. And when you do get captured, you can button mash out of your bonds in a steroid rage. And honestly, another American thing, definitely steroids. Go ask Barry Bonds. He was hitting home runs like he was shooting them out of a howitzer, and you're going to get some howitzers in this game. But I love all of the different characters we can get, all of their different firearms, and just how sheerly chaotic this game actually is. There's so many explosions, there's so many gratuitous scenes of your opponents just exploding into pixelated chunks of their own body. There's so many different things to see and do, and all of the environments are destructible, kind of giving it like a 10% Worms vibe, where you can actually just blast holes into the earth and decide to make your own path around. Explosions are everywhere. It truly is the action movie of video games, and that is definitely something you can't complain about whatsoever. And the pixel art aesthetic just totally works for this. All of the characters are tiny. You get to see so much of the screen at once. It's got that great American Western vista in the background. Kind of feels Pacific Northwestern-y here. And again, it's just a classic that you have to play on July 4th. And basically the storyline is we're just delivering free democracy to our enemies here. And of course, again, as a free game, that just ties in so incredibly well. Now, each character is going to have their own moveset. You're going to have chain gunners. You're going to have knife throwers. Basically anything here is possible. And as we ride off into the sunset on the helicopter, you will see here that the enemies that blow up in the game are going to explode a little bit on our screen as well. You're even going to have one character that has a grenade launcher by default, and that's going to be a completely different way to play. Now, the interesting thing is some of the music in this game is basically from the Expendables franchise, just kind of more remixed into a video game tone, and it totally works. Basically what we've discovered here is they should make more video games from action movies. We need 80s action movie testosterone filled video games so I can continue to talk about them on July 4th. But I said the soundtrack was awesome, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds. I'll come back, tell you more about the Expendabros, and make a few more jokes that I definitely didn't write down. But enjoy.
Yeah.
The soundtrack, the explosion, the sound effects are so good. It makes me just want to put a completely not thawed full-size turkey into a deep frying vat and light my house on fire while I do it. I'm really not sure how people keep doing that every single year, but the videos are absolutely horrifying in the funniest way possible. Apparently no one knows that you have to thaw a turkey, and again, like I said, do not write this down, it's just what's popping into my head. But these explosions here, rescuing your compatriots, having more lives on a screen, and having different characters to play with 100% works, and the chain gunner has so much momentum on so many bullets at once, he's actually going to push himself back on screen. Every single character has a different way to play. You're going to have to learn that and appreciate who to use in what scenarios, when you want to go in guns blazing, and when you want to take more of a stealth approach. But this is an American episode for July 4th, so forget stealth, guns blazing, run in, go through that wall like the Kool-Aid man, and don't think about your consequences, because that's what we do on a holiday like this. And that's what Broforce, and by extension the Expendabros, does as far as the gameplay concept is concerned. It really does give you that power fantasy illusion that one man with two weapons in his hands can absolutely take down an entire army single-handedly. This is just John Rambo, except there's more than one John Rambo. And honestly, what is the Expendables other than an extension of the Rambo franchise? Because where else could you just run into an open field, into an enemy base with two firearms in your hands and take out the entire army? I'm sure at some point in time in the history of the world that has been done, but I would definitely trip, fall, and shoot myself through the foot about the first 2 seconds of attempting anything like this, as I would expect most of you would as well. And I did say it had some Meat Boy aesthetics earlier. There's so many different traps you can fall into or shoot your enemies into, so many exploding barrels you can use to your advantage, and other propane tanks that can basically shoot off into the distance, destroying your enemies. And you know who sold the enemies those propane tanks? Hank Hill. He does not discriminate. He will sell anyone propane, even America's enemies. And again, that's just a joke, folks. But as we move on into the next stage here, I love the visual aesthetic. As we get further in, it gets more industrial. Clearly this is some sort of weapons depot for the enemy, and I love that we just shot that propane tank up through the floor, knocked off all of the rotating blades, and just chewed our opponents into absolute little jibs. It works as a gameplay concept, and it's so fun. This basically takes Metal Slug and just dials it up to a 15 out of 10, and once you get to the checkpoint and drop that American flag out, we're getting closer to a 69 out of 10 territory here for sure. And that's what I just love about this game. It is absolutely over the top, it is wild, it is challenging, it is fun with friends. It really is the type of thing that you want to put on your next game night. Maybe that might be tonight after the fireworks are over. Pop inside, download this free title, and just give it a go, because outside of all of the jokes that I make just for one July 4th video, I really do love Broforce and the Expendabros. It is an awesome title, and it really kind of feels like a revamped version of Contra with 4-player controls, with some Metal Slug and Meat Boy thrown into the mix. And you'll see here when I do have the chain gunner, you need to be very careful, because every single bullet he shoots out is going to push him back, and you do need to manage your screen space here correctly, or else you're just going to die over and over again. I know I keep saying go in guns blazing, but definitely wait just a little bit before you charge ahead. Think a tiny amount, and you'll do so much better at this game. If you just run in blindly, you're going to die a decent amount of times. But as our enemies' limbs rain down upon us in the area liberated scene, we can move on to the next level with the Knifes Expert, who will just absolutely chop people in half the entire time, but has no long range attacks. We pop one more propane tank into our enemies just to blow them all up. This is the type of game that you're either going to love it or hate it. If you grew up with Metal Slug, if you grew up with Contra, this is going to offer so much fun for you. And this is the type of game that, again, just gets so much better with friends. It is just so chaotic. You're running around, you're screaming, you're laughing, you're having the time of your life, and basically you just sit down and don't think about what you're doing, which is a classic American thing to do. Don't think, just act. You can even desecrate the body of your enemies just for a little bit of extra fun. And of course the robot friend here drops down for one last battle. But this is the Expendabros. It's a crossover between Broforce and the Expendables movie franchise. It is absolutely free, it is 100% wild, and it is the July 4th, 2024 Retro Gaming American Patriot Extravaganza. When you play this game, eagles will come to your windowsill, they will land, and they will drop a bag of Cheetos at your feet just because you played this title. It is a 10 out of 10. It's so wild, it's so fun, and I can't recommend it enough. And don't forget, you are not an amphibian, you are not a lizard. Hands do not grow back, so be careful tonight. Have fun. Go light off some fireworks, and I'll see you guys next year for the next episode of the American Patriot Retro Gaming Classic. Bye-bye.